Sorry, folks. My secret agenda has been exposed. And if you didn't know, I've been trying to convince people to pay off their 30-year 0% mortgage with a 15% home equity line of credit. And I thought, you know what? If I can convince people to do this, I can convince them to join my cult.
There's a preacher.
All right. Anyways, let's go ahead and get started to pay off debt using a line of credit. Now, would we use a line of credit to pay off a 0% mortgage? I don't know. Okay. So we're gonna do something that we used to call velocity banking, but we don't call it that anymore because the state of Illinois said you can't do that. In fact, let me actually find the little picture that I made. Look at that. The state of Illinois Terminator targeting fake bankers. We used to call it velocity banking. And then the state of Illinois sent a cease and desist letter to the Kwok brothers saying, you can't use that word. You're not a banker. Fine you $20,000. All right. Well, we don't call it velocity banking, folks. We just call it the velocity method. And somebody wanted to bring the name debt cannonball, which we were using for like 2 videos. And what is this method? Okay, so it's a debt payoff method. And I'm going to break it down and deconstruct it for you. Okay. It's simply just not saving money with the help of a line of credit. And you might be incredibly, I guess, flabbergasted because it's like, that's it. It's like, is that it? Well, you're just not saving money? Yes. And I'll tell you why. Most people have a very hard time overpaying debt, right? Whether it's a loan or a credit card, right? Because if I dump all my paycheck into a credit card, can I use that credit card to pay the loans or the other credit cards? No. But when I use something called a line of credit, personal or home equity line of credit, I can do that. And the other situations, if you overpay a loan, can you easily get that money back? The answer to that is no as well. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to use something called a line of credit to pay off debt with debt, right? Now, we have to give context to this because I think what happens with a lot of people is for marketing reasons, they always talk about paying off the mortgage, right? Oh, you got to pay off the mortgage. And one of the things that you'll learn, especially if you watch this channel, is that paying off the mortgage is the thing that happens last. Okay. It doesn't happen first. Okay. And I know there are methods out there like the pill method, where they say pay off the mortgage first. And we don't really advocate that because we're using our cash flow to pay off debt. And there's a certain order that we use to pay off that debt using the cash flow index. So if you just take a look at this person, $6,000, that's 100,000 a year, which is not that much these days because of inflation. Yet it is a lot because there are a lot of people who still make minimum wage, right? So you can't discount that. But let's say you make about $6,000 a month. Expenses about $5,499, and you've got $500 left over in your checking and savings. And in your expense breakdown, you list every single debt that you have. And then here we see that we have 6 debts. Okay, 6 debts. And here we have our personal expenses not tied to debt. So imagine we're debt free. We still have to go to a job and pay for stuff, right? That's what happens when we become debt free. It just costs money to live. But we would feel a sense of relief if we're completely debt free just for a little moment. And you know what happens afterwards? You feel anxious that you have money saved, or so you feel like you got to invest, right? So that's rich people problems. Well, we're not there yet, okay? So what we're going to do is use something called the velocity method that we used to call velocity banking, but we don't use that word anymore. And according to another YouTuber, I've never done this. I just, quote, help people with their finances. And here's the basis of this method. I know this is going to sound crazy. So if you want to pay off debt, you know how you do it? You just don't save money. I know that's insane, right? You just don't save money, okay? But a lot of people have a hard time not saving money. And in fact, there's a lot of contradictory ideas out there. So, for example, if you listen to Dave Ramsey, what is like Dave Ramsey's step number one? Save $1,000, right? And well, if you're saving $1,000, you're not using it to pay off debt. And we don't see it that way because we're going to dump all of our debt or money into debt using something called a line of credit. And we're going to try to increase this cash flow number as much as possible. So the difference between the average American banking style and this method is, what is the relationship between your checking account and where your money goes? Is your checking account the place where you hold the money? Is it the final destination of your money, like in the average American banking paradigm? Or, okay, is it a place to temporarily, I can't even pronounce words today, store money? Okay. Is it a place to temporarily store money? Like, I don't know, a bus stop. I can't even think of any other words. It's the analogy I've been using for the last couple of videos. Okay. All right. So, what, and here's the other thing too. A lot of times in the traditional paradigm, we think of checking savings as the same as our cash flow. And in the velocity method, cash flow is not savings. Okay. So if you ever taken a real estate investing course, cash flow equals income minus expenses minus debt service. And then whatever's left over in your checking is your cash flow. Here, our cash flow is just the amount that our debt gets reduced plus some interest using the line of credit. Okay. And that's what we're going to do today. So we're going to assume we have access to a $60,000, probably a home equity line of credit, right? So if you take a look here, we see that we have a mortgage. So let's assume we have a little bit of equity, or that we were really, really smart. Okay. And if you don't know what smart people do with real estate, they buy it at a discount. So $300,000 property, you buy it for $200,000, maybe spend 10 to 30, $10 to $30,000 fixing it up and getting some equity out of it, right? That's what smart and real estate investors do. But let's just assume that we bought it in like 2020, and then, real estate prices are skyrocketing and everybody's happy, and we were able to get a $16,000 home equity line of credit. Now, quick question for you all, because I always have to repeat this every single time. If you have a lot of debt and you only have $500 left over, is the bank going to lend you a line of credit? And the answer to that is probably not, because banks don't lend money to people who need it. You see, the way that the bank works, it's like a financial vampire, right? Financial vampire leech. So when the leech has seen that all the other leeches, aka the other banks, have sucked all of your blood, aka your life force, out of you, there's nothing for them to leech off of, right? Or maybe this $500. And so that's really not that much, right? But when they see that, hey, you don't have any debt, right? You don't have any debt at all, and you got this $4,000 left over every single month, they're all over that, right? They're all over that. There's no other bank leeching off of your life force. I want to be the first bank to offer you a nice ass. I kind of cussed there. I'm sorry. I need a producer to kind of bleep that out, but I don't have one yet. But who knows? Maybe one day I will. But a nice, I need to offer you a nice loan and then slowly suck your life force with payments over time, right? That's just how banking works, whether it's a credit card line of credit, or a credit card or a line of credit, or a loan. I don't even know why I'm laughing. Okay, so let me go back here. Okay, so if they see that you have very little money left over, okay, very little money left over, they're going to be thinking like, no, there's nothing for us, so we don't want to lend to you, right? And the other thing too about that they know is that people who need money don't pay you back. I mean, think about your friends and family that begged you for money. They were literally begging. They were screwed, right? And they said the magic words, "I need to borrow the money because I need it," or I have to borrow the money because I need it. I need the money, right? And so when they tell you the "I need the money" part, okay, guess what happens? The bank's human language translator goes off and says, Oh, that means you're not gonna pay them back. See, the bank knew because they do a gajillion transactions a day, and they know that people who need money don't pay you back, right? So those are the 2 main reasons why banks don't lend money to people who need it, because people who need money don't pay you back. Okay, all right, so let's go ahead and do this, and I am going to rank our debts, and we use the cash flow index to rank our debts because it's the easiest way, and I actually didn't really start using this until I got random strangers, like, emailing me, and I remember the first time someone emailed me and it was like 10 debts, right? 10 debts. And I'm like, what is going on here? Like 10 debts, right? Like, and then like a few weeks later, or maybe like a few months later, someone emailed me another spreadsheet, like someone else, and it had 22 debts and $4.10 left over in that month's budget. And I was just blown away. And that person was watching my videos and did the spreadsheet just pretty much like this with the cash flow index and all that. And if you don't know what the cash flow index is, it's just basically a ranking system, right? So, ranking system of how much bang you get for your buck for paying off the debt. Okay. So, there is a direct correlation with credit cards because the payment is always going to be, or with a credit card, the cash flow index will have a direct correlation with the interest rate because the interest rate is a direct, has a direct proportion to the payment, right? But with these amortized loans, the interest rate is just an indirect factor because you have to think about the original balance and the length of time. The length of time is what trips most people up. Okay. And so here, right, we see that these are low and the mortgage is high. Now, why do we pay off the mortgage last, right? So again, this is a ranking or sorting system. And the reason why we pay off the mortgage last is because I literally have to give someone $235,000 for only $1,100 of cash flow, right? Whereas with credit card 2 and credit card 3, I combine these, and I think that's $42,000. I get more cash flow from a smaller amount of debt that I have to pay off than the mortgage. So it makes more sense to pay off these first than the other debts. Okay. And so that's what we're going to do today. And yeah, let's go ahead and move some of these debts into a line of credit. So how much debt is this? Is 5, 15, 27. And then I'm going to sum this up. So that's going to be $47,000. And what happens when we move this $47,000 into the line of credit? Well, it's like a credit card balance transfer, right? So 000, and then voila. it's We magically turned $500 to $2,018.33. So wow, how do we do that? Well, we can't do it right now because no bank will give you a free and clear line of credit. Um, when you need money. So it's kind of like the chicken and the egg, right? So this is why I tell people go to a bank when you don't need money because they won't give it to you when you need it, right? And so with this line of credit, it's really cool because it's a two-way street. I can easily put money in and I just take money out whenever I want. And so what we're going to do is put the entire paycheck in, take our expenses out and rinse and repeat and over again. So we can do this with a line of credit, but we can't even do this with a credit card, even though a credit card is technically a line of credit, right? Much harder. A lot of people ask, like, how do I do this with a credit card? And I'm like, I don't know. It's like, when people ask, well, how do I put a round peg in a square hole? I'll just say, get a square peg. You know what I mean? Like, the reason why you think you can't get lines of credit, I'll tell you why, is because they're not as heavily advertised as credit cards, right? So if you kind of look at a sports game, like, you watch the commercials, they always say, this is sponsored by Visa, right? And so that kind of some limit subliminally um teaches you like, hey, this credit card thing I can easily get because you see so many advertisements for it. It's kind of like pharmaceutical drugs. I heard like America is like the only country in the world, or one of the only countries in the world, where you can like advertise direct to consumer. It's probably like so many people are on Ozempic, you know what I mean? And here's the thing, if you're on Ozempic, I don't really judge you, you know what I mean? But like I see people that I've known and their son like skinny. I'm like, what? Did you exercise? Like, I'm kinda getting fat. You know what I mean? Like, and then I realize, oh, maybe, is it Ozempic or, Like, and I don't ask because I don't want to be rude, but what I'm saying is that you think it's possible because, you might be one of those people who say, "Oh, direct marketing and advertising doesn't affect me," and then next thing you know, you're on Ozempic. Even and again, it could be possible because I see people in my real life where it's like, "How'd you get so skinny?" Like, it was either exercise or, some of the one of those, what was it, GLP-1 drugs? Yeah, yeah. But anyway, back to my point. Most people don't think that lines of credit are easily obtainable, but credit cards are. But the reason is because they spend the credit card companies spend a lot of money on marketing. This is why you'll always get flyers about the next credit card that you should apply for because they heavily promote it to you, so you think it's easily possible. But getting a personal line of credit and home equity, if you have the right profile, it's relatively easy to get. And you have to understand what about the U.S. There's 4,000 banks in the US. You know how many banks Canada has? 6. And the country's huge because they live in a different environment than in the US. Different financial environment, right? So when someone tells me I can't get a line of credit, well, uh, yes, if you need money, but if you don't need money, there's a gajillion places that'll offer it to you, right? They'll be happy to offer it to you. Anyways, all right, so let's go ahead and do the next step, which is you put your entire paycheck into the line, take your expenses out, and then after every single month, the balance will go down about $2,018.33. So let's go ahead and do this. And then I'm going to subtract 2018.33. And then how do we calculate the interest? It's just based on the average daily balance, right? Average daily balance. Multiply it by the interest rate, so 0.08, and then you divide by 12. Okay. And then I'm just going to go ahead and copy and paste, and then you just do this every single month. And you know what the minimum you have to pay on most lines of credit are? It's just the interest that accrued. So think about it. Like you pay this entire 6,000 instead of 306, you're going to be able to make the payment. No sweat, right? A lot of people, they're very worried about making the minimum payments, but you dump all your money in, you can easily make the minimum payment on this, right? Okay. So now, this is month, how long does it take? Month 26. Okay. All right. Look how easy this is. You know why this is so easy to me? Because I've made over 700 videos on the topic starting from three years ago. 700 videos. And then, I've always been fascinated by the Bruce Lee quote that I follow I fear the man who does one kick 10,000 times, right? And that's what I do. I just do this 10,000 times, and well, I've already done it probably, I don't know, 1,000 times at least, but you know what I mean. And so I fear the man who does one kick 10,000 times than the man who does 10,000 kicks once. And we live in a society where a lot of people just do 10,000 kicks once. I mean, look at the average college application where, no, where like people put like 20 extracurricular activities and 6 AP classes and all that. That's ridiculous. All right. So now we have 3 more loans, and we got a loan calculator somewhere. Did I hide it? I think I hid it. Okay. So I'll go ahead and hide this. Yeah, the loan calculator. And I need to redo this because I changed the numbers for another demonstration, but I can easily fix it. 235000. Okay. All right, so now let's go ahead and do this. All right. And so what do we do? What we're going to do is put the current month. So this is going to be 26 months that we're currently at, and then we can see what the current balance is of the loan amortization, right? So, okay. So now we have 3 loans, right? 3 loans. And so this is going to be the current cash flow index, and we just follow the same path, right? So a lot of times people like focus on the 7% and they're like, oh my goodness, like this is the highest interest rate. Why would we pay the 3 first? Because we get more bang for our buck in terms of cash flow for paying off the 3. I pay the 12 grand, I get the $400, and then I apply it to the 7%. And we can easily do that, right? We kind of have to think in a holistic manner. Now, the cash flow index is not perfect, right? If I have a 0% loan with a very big payment compared to the balance, yeah, maybe you shouldn't pay that one off first. But even if it had a 0% interest rate, if it really was a low cash flow index number, then you wouldn't, it wouldn't really matter that much, right? Because the loan's going to be paid off quickly anyways, if you know what I mean. Wink, wink. It's just my secret code for telling you I want you to join my cult. All right. So now what we do is we move this. So this is going to be plus 12869.8. And then, so this is going to be 0. And then this is going to be 2,400. Now we're going to copy and paste. Copy and paste. Whoopsie. I screwed up, didn't I? All right. So now our cash flow has been updated to 2413.64. All right. So now this is going to be 31 months. All right, so 31 months, and all right, so this is going to be 47 plus 22, and it's going to be 69K, okay? 69K. And then, so there's going to be 2 more loans, so this is going to be 31 months, so I'm just going to go in right here, 31, 31, and then it's going to be 0, right? And then now we have this 7% loan we can attack. Now, should we move the whole loan into a line of credit? It depends. Usually, I have a rule of thumb. If the loan interest rate is the same as line of credit interest rate, yeah, it's safe to move. If it's slightly lower, and here's the other thing too. It also depends on this cash flow index number, right? So if you're not getting that much bang for your buck, we'll say above 50, be a little bit careful. But if the interest rate is similar and we're at the end stage of our journey, it's not really going to matter that much, right? Now, with the 30-year mortgage, if there's an interest rate difference between, let's say, 4 and 8 or 4 and 15, that's going to make a huge difference. And that's why we don't ever usually move the entire 30-year mortgage into a line of credit. We just do it in sweeps, partially, incrementally, but we don't do the entire thing, right? And I'll show you why. But let's just do this. We'll move the student loan into the line of credit. And I'll just be upfront with you. I wouldn't really necessarily do the whole thing, but it makes the demonstration easier, right? So it makes the demonstration easier. So 37172.18. And then I'm just going to do this. And then this is going to be 464. And then 2878.07. So, oh, did I? I think this is from the previous demonstration, right? Wait, hold on. Did I? See, sometimes I get lost in my own, on my own. Yeah, okay. All right, so it's probably from a previous demonstration. I did not, okay. All right, so this one, no. Wait, I'm getting lost now. Oh, it's right here. So 27. Yeah, okay. I'm like, what's going on? All right. So minus 2878.07. All right. So now let's go ahead and copy and paste in this updated cash flow and see how long it takes to pay off that student loan, which is 45 months, right? So 45 months is here. And then I'm just going to go ahead and go here. And then it'd be 45 months. And I think that's 109K. 109K. So not bad, right? So what is it, like 6 months, I think, for until the student loan is paid off? Yeah, so 31 plus 6 is 45, I believe, unless wait, it's not, it's okay, what do you mean? It's 9 plus 5. It's 14 months, so it's a little bit more than a year. I can't do math, which is ironic because I'm supposed to be an expert at this. Okay, so now $218,000, right? So that's the current balance of this loan, right? So you can see that we paid, a good amount of interest, 34 grand. Now, let me just kind of show you this calculator that we're going to use a line of credit to pay off the loan. Now, should you there's two ways that you could pay this, and I always address this, right? There's the extra payment, which means you just make a direct payment to the loan in cash, and that's fine, right? Now, a lot of times, I'm going to tell you why um, we have to present alternatives. Okay, so up until this point, the reason why we're able to pay off the debt is because we're just putting all our money into debt. And the line of credit is a tool that makes it easiest for us to do that. We couldn't even do that with we couldn't do that with loans, and we couldn't even do that with credit cards. Now, given that this is your last debt, is it a really big deal if you overpay that loan? Probably not, right? Especially if you're in this situation where you have tons of credit cards, lines of credit as a backup. Now, here's how we got to situation average American banking in the first place. The way that the bank makes money is through something called segregation of income, right? So, what is the segregation of your income? Your money comes into your checking account, it gets split all over the place, and then they're just slowly sucking the life force out of out of your money, and then whatever they've taken as a vampire, as a leech, they just leave the leftovers in your checking and savings, right? Because they've segregated your income. Another way you could think of it is just minimum payments for life because you're too afraid to put all of your money into debt. Okay, and so the reason why I say, hey, you might still want to use a line of credit is because you don't want to come back here, right? You don't want to segregate your income. That's another way to think of it. Another way that you could probably think about is just like having a seatbelt, right? Like you just put your money into one place and that's it. And then you pay it off. Now I know what some of you are thinking. Well, this is a 4% loan, right? And if I move it to an 8% line of credit, am I paying double? Well, I will give you the worst case situation on this, okay? So let's assume that this $235,000 loan is actually a 0% interest loan. So that means the payment's $652.78, right? And let's say we were the dumbest mother effer on earth because we wanted to join a cult, and the cult leader said, hey, you pay off your mortgage with the 15% line of credit. This 0% mortgage paid off with the 15% line of credit. And you're like, okay, right? And so let me show you what this cult leader is trying to tell you to do. Okay. All right. So I have this calculator right here, right? So let's say you literally had started with the 0% loan and you said, you know what? I took this class that told me to pay my loans with a line of credit, and I have a 0% loan, but because lines of credit are always better, I should do it, right? And then, to guard you from your own stupidity, let's say you actually did do it, okay? 8%. How much are you paying? Paid off in 5 years, and you pay 1,700 in interest, which is kind of like a blip in the bank's balance sheet. It's like a rounding error for them, right? So, yes, even with the 0% loan, you're slightly going to overpay with an 8% line of credit. Now, let's do 15, right? Because that's what I posted in that little picture there. Okay, it doubles, right? So 3 grand. Okay, like again, that's still a rounding error in the bank's balance sheet, and then you just do something stupid, really stupid, like 30. Okay, it doubles again. Okay. Yes, it does. It does kind of double, but it doesn't double in the way that you think it does, right? And so, um, take it for what you will. Even if you use a 30% credit card, you could probably just offset that with like rewards points or something. If you got one of those like sweet, 2 to 5% cards, right? Or you could do something called churning, which is like using the credit card's rewards points or bonuses for whatever it is that you're doing. Paying off a 0% loan with a 15% line of credit. I can't believe it. Oh my goodness. All right. So let's go ahead and just do this. So this is going to be 4%. 4%. And what's the payment amount? Payment amount is 1121.93. So 1121.93. And actually the current balance, let's just take a look here, is 1121. Oh, it's probably me because I have the calculator open in 2 places. But let me go back here. It is, let's take a look right here. 218,590.67. 218,590.67. 218,590.67. Okay, so paid off in 5.2 years, 24 grand. Sweet. So now what we do is we add 5.2 years. Okay. So 0, and this is going to be 45 divided by 12 plus 5.2. Okay. So 8.95 years debt free. Debt free. Okay. So you ever watch those like videos where it's like pay off your mortgage in under or in 7 to 10 years? And it's like if you do it in 7 to 10 years, that's like really bad in my book. You know what I mean? Like you gotta do it under 7. And if you're really boss like me, you do it under 3. Right. All right. Well, that's it for today, folks. So again, this is just another brainwashing cult session. Like I said, if I can convince them to pay off a 0% loan with a 15% home equity line of credit, then you will all join my little cult here.
Are you Richard?
Ooh, yeah, I'm getting tired too. All right, it's getting a little bit late, folks. Korean Atlanta Mentorship, your favorite one-stop financial cult. Have a great day, and I'll see you on the next video.